Hi, and welcome to What's the T and L&E. I'm Leah.
I'm Emily.
And we are management side employment attorneys with Woods Rogers. Today, though, we have a very special guest, Tim Bechen.
Wait, Leah, isn't Tim an intellectual property lawyer? How'd he get in here?
He is. Well, welcome, Tim, by the way.
Thank you.
Yes, he is an intellectual property attorney, but we have been working together very closely recently because we've had many employers ask us, hey, is it okay to use pictures of our employees or videos of our employees on our social media, our Instagram, or even on our promotional materials or our websites?
So is there any liability with that?
So generally speaking, there is liability. Virginia, like a lot of states, has a provision that requires written consent of employees to use their name, image, or likeness on social media content.
Well, what is name, image, and likeness? What does that even mean?
Well, essentially, if you have a picture of them in the background, or you post and they put their name under it, or even if you have them give a testimonial that they're providing written content, or a characterization of them as an employee. So anything that relates back to them and is attributed to them, under the Virginia statute, like other states, there's a written requirement of consent.
What does that look like?
Really, it can look in any form as long as there's a written format. There's a recent case where the court denied a decision advancing a case along because they did not have a formal written consent. In that case, the court actually said, the one side argued, well, it was an implied consent. I mean, obviously they knew the picture was up there. And
What kind of company was this?
So it was a mail order bride website.
Wait, is that even legal? Okay, I don't know.
We're getting far into the weeds.
Okay, this is the fun interplay between intellectual property and employment. Okay, so mail order bride website company, go.
Yeah, and essentially what happens in these cases is that you don't see somebody bring an individual lawsuit solely for this, but they get terminated and they're having a list of things they want to sue the company over, and this just gets added on. And if you don't have the paperwork in order, you have to waste time and money getting this issue cleared through the courts. So, and that's exactly what happened in this case with the mail order bride service. There were a whole lot of issues, and they simply tacked it on as an additional issue under the Virginia statute, which requires a written consent.
Yeah, you would think that if you are an employee who's going to be an ordered bride, or whatever you'd call it, that obviously the company would have to showcase your photo at some point. So how is that? So that, and in and of itself, the nature of the work and knowing that they would take images of the employees to show them is not sufficient.
So what's interesting in this is that while the statute is very clear, there's been limited cases on the subject, and so we don't have a lot of clarification from the courts, and so we kind of have to go. There's two exceptions. One if the image is newsworthy, the other one if it's in a public interest. In fact, the one party tried to argue love is a public interest.
It is. Love is
Love
all.
can heal us all.
Yes.
Yeah, that didn't work. So, but at the end of the day, it just comes down to there's a lot of ambiguity about these issues. So what we recommend, as part of an onboarding process, have a one-page consent for using name, image, and likeness of the employee. They're signing everything else. Have them bring that on board. And there's always the ability for them to object, to say, I don't want it on there. But if you have all these issues you're worried about, let's just take one of them off the table by having them sign a form when they come on board.
And this is exactly why we bring Tim in when we deal with these issues. We recently just worked on one for a client where we even had an opt-out. So an employee had to actually opt out if they did not want their images used.
Well, thank you, Tim, for joining us.
Oh, sure. Thanks for having me.
Great conversation, and we'll be back again soon with What's the T and L&E.